Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Nashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. I love that. It's like a little dance. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Maybe I'll do a theme song where I sing that in a perfect world. Anyway, I am so excited today because when days like I had today, where you start the morning off and everything you had planned goes a different way, it sets it up to be the perfect day to practice what it feels like to be in transition. And this show, as you know, as I've been saying all year, is the transition area where we are going to decompress and not distract. We aren't turning a blind eye to reality, but we are choosing to not let it drain our battery. We're going to control the controllables. We can't fix the whole world at once, nor do we need to, but we can control our effort, our kindness, and our community. We're going to fuel the fire by providing you with good stories that will inspire you, stories that will encourage you to help you get to your personal finish line, regardless of what is happening on the sidelines. We're going to recognize the struggle, refuse to contribute to the noise, and focus on the miles ahead. Let's try this. Okay. Well, today I am thrilled to have a newbie. That's right. When it's your birthday and you set out to do a race on your birthday, I like that. It excites me. It's a beautiful day to celebrate life. And our next guest did just that. She said, I am going to do my first triathlon on my birthday. I happened to be announcing and just kind of did an overall, if it's your birthday, let me know. And this guest ran up to me, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited, little hints of nervousness. But most of all, she was ready to challenge herself while turning a year older and welcoming in a new year full of hope, full of possibilities, and full of more opportunities to try. I am so grateful and excited to welcome this first timer to the Try Beginner's Luck audience. Welcome to Beatriz Sampaio. How you doing?
I'm good, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Because it's your birthday. Go shine. It's your birthday. Hey, I want to say happy birthday to you. And then Stevie Wonder's happy birthday to you. Because technically, it's only been about 10 days since your birthday. And so you should celebrate one every day. But definitely, I feel like I'm still celebrating for you. So happy birthday and welcome our fresh new triathlete. How does it feel to have crossed the finish line?
Yeah, it was definitely so exciting. And it was a mix of, wanting to celebrate doing that and trying to remember everything, but also carrying on that momentum for thinking about my next race and how I want to keep growing in the sport. But it was definitely a positive experience. I'm so excited for more.
Well, let's break down this positive experience. But before that, when you were saying trying to remember everything, that's something that so many beginners go through. What type of things were you trying to remember?
I think I was trying to use my memory in two ways. One, I think this first race, it was all about trying to have fun. Because, as my first one, I was not trying to put too much pressure on myself and just trying to enjoy the sport, enjoy the environment. It was such a beautiful day. And I was just trying to remember that positive feeling of racing and just trying something new for the first time. But then I was also trying to think about all the learnings from that first race. to carry on for future experiences and for my training moving forward. So just trying to use that experience in that, yeah, in those 2 ways. So I definitely came home and I did a journaling session where I wrote everything down just to have that really perfectly, sedimented somewhere in paper so I could remember it.
Well, I'm going to be bold enough at the very beginning of this podcast to say, if you're willing to share that journal entry with us, please do. So I hope you got it nearby. We'll get, see, that's what I'm talking about. You are ready. We are going to get to that, but not yet. I want to find out because you ready. You're like, oh, let me tell. I cannot wait. And it's funny because the last episode, or 2 episodes ago with Leslie Nibb, we were talking about how when first timers tell their story, it's like you tell every detail. And then I did this, and then I did that. And for me, I've forgotten what it's like to be a first timer in that essence, where you're saying every detail about when you took the gel, when you did this, because you're just so excited. So I want you to share that excitement with us. But before we get to that, what made you say, this year is the year on my birthday, I am going to do a triathlon?
Yeah. So I've been an active person all my life, but that has looked a little bit differently. Growing up, I used to play tennis. I did swimming for a little bit. So I've always liked trying new things. And just that challenge of being kind of bad sometimes and just like seeing improvement over time. I've always loved that. My introduction to endurance sports came during college. I started running. It's actually kind of a funny story. I was halfway through college, and my one of my close friends messaged me. This was over summer break, so I was in my college town doing research, and I could pretty much build my own schedule. So she messaged me, and she was saying, how, oh, like, I know all of these successful people who run marathons. Let's run a marathon. And, it's hard to judge tone over a text message. So I thought she was joking and I said, yes, haha. Um, because I did zero running at that time. And I thought she did zero running too. But then she replied and said, okay, I signed up to run with just charity for the Chicago Marathon. And I was like, oh, I was joking. But then she said, well, I signed up, so now you have to do this. So I pretty much went from zero to marathon shape in like about 4 months, I think. And that process in itself is its own story. But I've been running for a few years since 2019. And I think it's, a natural progression, I guess, with running. Now that I've done a few marathons, I did an ultra marathon. I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, what's next? Like, I miss that thrill of, a new challenge, learning about myself in that way, like putting myself into a new situation. And a friend actually, she was already swimming and biking. She said, we're going through similar life changes. I think you should try triathlon with me because it's so fun, and we can help each other out because you know so much more about running and I can help you with the other disciplines. So that's how I kind of got started, just really casually adding in a few bike workouts, a few swims. That came actually a little later because that to me was the part that required not like less training, but I was like, okay, like the bike makes me more nervous, so I should probably put more time into, practicing how to ride a bike and feel confident riding. But it actually took me about a year to sign up for my first triathlon race because I just felt like I needed that much time to prepare. But yeah, I was like, okay, like I really want to do this. And I saw the race for my birthday weekend, and I was like, this is perfect way to celebrate. Make my family wake up early and go watch me race. But yeah, it was just to me the perfect way to celebrate.
Beatrice, you've confused me, my friend.
Why?
And let me tell, I'm going to tell you, girlfriend. Um, you go from zero to marathon in 4 months, but it took you a year to try. The math ain't mathing. The math is not mathing. And you, after doing your first triathlon, you're just like, you could have probably, I mean, there's no time like the perfect timing. Like, it is the perfect timing because we met. And had you done it any earlier, it wouldn't have been. But help us understand the psychology behind making that decision to say that I can do this marathon. This is 26.2 miles and I got 4 months to get it done, but I'm going to do it. But when it comes to a triathlon, which technically a sprint triathlon is more like, let's say, we'll say it's a 10K or something, right? It's so different. Tell us, take us through that journey and thought process.
Um, yeah, now that you put it that way, it does sound a little silly. But I think with running, I just had that feeling that at any point I could stop. But when you're on a bike or when you're open water swimming, there's additional risks that come into it. And I just wanted to feel prepared. I didn't want to at any point undermine the risks that come along with a triathlon. I think that because it is a sport that is growing in popularity, a lot of people sign up to do it, and that's great. But I also didn't want to just move too quickly and not feel like I was prepared in that sense. I really wanted to prioritize safety, but I don't think that I needed the 1 year. I also think that because I, kind of went through my running journey so quickly, going from, zero to marathon and not really like signing up for like the 5Ks and then the 10Ks and then a half marathon. I felt like I missed out on enjoying all of those steps and seeing all of that growth. So I knew I wanted to do that, and I still want to do that with triathlon. I have this ultimate goal of doing a half Ironman, but I want to do it well, and I want to take all the little steps to get there, and just do it differently in that sense, and not just sprint towards the big race. So I think that was my thinking behind it.
That's beautiful. And let me tell you why. I did that because I am always curious about why people do what they do, how they come to those conclusions. Because I personally have a very do first, think later, which it's not always wise, right? But hearing you say that because you had done the zero to marathon so quickly, that you didn't have time to enjoy the 5K, the 10Ks, the half distance, and then, progress. And I think so many people who go from zero to full Ironman or zero to half equally miss out on that experience and the lessons learned. And not that there's a right or the wrong way. Like, people have their way, and their way is fine. But Liz Kolar, who is the director of constituent services with US Trade Triathlon, was just saying on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, the progression, do it because you find out that you enjoy it and you tend to stay in sport longer than if you were to just go from zero to iron and think that, oh my gosh, if this is the experience, I don't want that. So it allows you to mature with the sport. So as we take a moment to go backwards, I want to go to that journal entry, right? But before reading the journal entry, take us through what it was like to train. Because did you train by yourself? Did you train with a group? Do you even live near General Smallwood area? Like, I don't know any of these details, and I want my listeners to know all there is to know about you in case there's somebody out there who's still on the fence about making the leap to try.
Totally. So I'd say I started training before I actually committed to the race, right? So I obviously felt really comfortable running distances.
Mhm.
I did, so just to situate people on the timeline, this race happened at the end of April 2026, right? I signed up for it maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. Before this, I had signed up for a half marathon. So I think through the fall and winter of last year in 2025, I was really focused on the half and just casually uh, introducing bike and swim workouts. Um, it's a little complicated because I spent some time away from home last year, living abroad for some educational purposes, and that made it more complicated to train because I didn't have my bike. Um, but it really let me focus on running, and it made me miss riding my bike, which was a whole different feeling I hadn't felt before. But then once I got back home in January this year, I was like, okay, I'm really excited about building towards this race. And I started following a plan that my friend and I had talked about because originally we were going to race together. And I focused a lot more on the bike and the swim just because I knew how, you know, the run felt. I had that experience recently of the half marathon that I did in the fall. So I knew the 5K would be pretty easy. I just knew I had to building maybe some brick workouts because the feeling of running after riding a bike feels completely different. And I really found myself enjoying particularly the swim workouts. Um, and I think I actually trained for what I would say is a little bit harder than you need for a sprint race. But as my first race, I was like, I want to feel a little bit over prepared, just because you never know. I think for General Smallwood, the bike portion is actually a little bit longer than a regular uh, sprint. It's just a few additional miles, I believe. So I I knew that I wanted to just, feel a little bit over prepared in that sense, I guess. And for me, also building into this race, I didn't want to pressure myself into, just wanting to go fast. I just wanted to enjoy the process. So
Mhm.
with the help of the triathlon club, sorry, that I'm part of here in the area, I'm around the DC area. Um, I started attending a lot of like social events and just meeting people who were also really into triathlon and just, piecing together parts of my training just with friends who I met through the club. And that was really nice. I think just to, again, not so much focus on a structured plan, but just to have fun and enjoy the process of training and meeting community, which to me is also so incredible about endurance sports in general. Um, so yeah, the training, I would say I didn't put so much pressure on like following a plan exactly. I knew that I had to feel a certain level of comfort with, the bike, the swim, the open water swim was new to me also. But to me, it was more, okay, I want to enjoy this. I don't want this to feel like a chore. Um, and I want to go in feeling confident as well. So I think for future races, maybe I will focus on having a more structured plan. But for me, this first time was really about just enjoying the sport and just, yeah, having fun.
Heck yeah. Enjoying the sport and one, being able to travel abroad, come home, be thoughtful in the first 4 months of the year and intentional. Join a group. You're just checking the boxes, my friend. Checking all those boxes. And I'm really glad that you said that the community aspect. even with your first time, that is one of the I'm going to say number one reasons why people try. And I love it. All right. First race done. Let's get in that journal entry, friend. All right, everybody, listen up. Pay attention. Let's go.
It's a pretty long journal entry, so I'll just,
We
and it's
know.
also in Portuguese because I'm originally from Brazil and that's my native language.
Okay.
So I don't think I can read it, but
Well, give us
I, yeah,
what
I'll
you
give.
can. We know it's going to be a little long because those details we talked about that Leslie reminded us about in terms of what our newbies writing down everything. We would love to hear how you're able to translate it the best way you can from Portuguese to English for
Yeah.
us.
So I start out by talking about, the day before and what I did just to prepare, I think, mentally and physically. So obviously eating a lot of carbs, spending a lot of time with my family and my dog the day before. But then I say that I, went to bed early. I woke up early as well because I had about an hour drive to where the race was. And I, as part of my journal entry, as I said, I wanted to write down everything that I did, um, even like nutrition, all of that, so I can look back and reflect on it. So I don't know if you saw that for um, the marathon world record. The the runner said he ate like two slices of toast, honey, and tea
Hmm.
the morning of the race. So I think it's funny. I ate even more than he did because I ate bread, banana, honey, cinnamon. That's my go-to race day breakfast. And then I packed snacks. I've also been trying to have beet powder because I've heard some people say that it's really good to have it a few hours before the race because of the nitrates. So yeah, that's a tip. 2 hours before any hard workout or a race, beet powder. I showered before the race to get in that,
Good.
mindset. And then we started the drive. I got my race packet, and it was my first time doing all of the setting up my transition area. I put my helmet sticker on my journal.
Oh,
Um, so just to remember my number and everything. My tri club had specific racks for the transition area, so that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, I just got ready with my family. And one of the key things that I was nervous about was the open water swim because most of my training had been in the pool. Even though I grew up in like right by the water in Brazil, swimming, you know, like this kind of scared me a little bit. So I took some time to observe how people were swimming because the Olympic distance racers started a little bit before the sprint racers. So I wrote down a few of the reminders that I was telling myself before we started the race. So I said, I knew that I would feel some sort of like temperature shock because the water was a little bit cold. I knew to start slower than I thought I needed, because you're going to feel that adrenaline rush, but try to remain calm. That's what I told myself. And then I also noticed that a lot of the Olympic racers were swimming like out of the direction that they should be. So I told myself, okay, look out and practice sighting more than you think you need. I did feel a little bit of the temperature shock. That's what I wrote here. And an unexpected thing, for this race, we kind of like jump into the water um, to start one by one. And when I jumped, there was water that went into one of my eyes, like the left eye, the left goggle. So I swam the whole time with one eye shut. Obviously, had not practiced that, but Had to go through that unexpectedly. That's a lesson learned. Things will go wrong. So I wrote that down. One thing that I wrote in my journal is that, um, you know, things will feel differently. And I kept telling myself, okay, if you have to pee, pee in the water. But it was so cold, and I just felt so weird that even though I was telling my brain, okay, just pee, my body could not pee. That's a little TMI, but I wrote that down because that was a weird feeling. Um, and then, yeah, the swim went by. I had no idea how long it had been, because when I walked out of the water, I clicked on my Garmin for the transition time, to start. So I actually, that's a reminder for next time. Look at your watch to see how fast or slow you went, because I had no idea the whole time what I was doing. I thought it had been 30 minutes. It had been 17. So that that was pretty funny. The whole time I just thought it was much slower than I had been. And then I just wrote that the bike felt really just fun. And it was very supportive with everyone. People just kept cheering on each other. Um, and I also wrote that the run, like I blinked and it was over. The 5K went by super, super fast. And then I made a note about the volunteers for this race because they really were so awesome. And they made the whole thing incredible. They were so cheerful the whole time. And everyone actually was really nice. All the racers, people watching, just the support in general was really, really cool. I didn't want to forget how the environment felt during the race. So, yeah, I just wanted to, even though I wrote a lot about the things that went wrong, I also wanted to remind myself of how many good things happened and how just the community in itself is such an amazing thing that sometimes you only get to see in, on race day or when you go to events, because on the day to day, it's just you and the pool, just you and the roads. So just keeping that in mind, and being able to reread this whenever, I have a bad training day. I think just having this on hand is really, really cool.
It's beautiful. The fact that you have that tangible information for you when you are having those days ahead when you're training and it doesn't go the way you want. That's absolutely beautiful. And I enjoyed like seeing you get excited to read it. That to me was the best part of this. It's not that you wrote it, but seeing the reaction of you getting to relive it in this moment, real time with us. So thank you for sharing a little piece of you with us, especially the TMI part, because that's the best part. It's the best part. We love a good pee party here at the Try Beginner Slug Party. So we get it. We totally get it. You talked about some key things, and I think your triathlon IQ is so sharp. Paying attention to others and that go before you is so key. And I think even if you had not done that, one little caveat I will add to anyone who's listening: volunteer at a race, because that will give you the opportunity to see a race in action before doing it. So you can pick up on tips like you did, Beatrice, when you were able to see that the Olympic swimmers were veering off further to the right versus staying closer to the left, which probably meant the current was flowing in a direction that was pushing them. And so going completely off course cost you time. And you were able to see that or be in such a mental state where you could pay attention and be present in the moment that allowed you not to make the mistake that they were making. What also threw you off guard, or could have, was the goggle filling your eye with water. When that happens, you're just like, okay, so what do I do? And when you gave us this whole swimming with one eye, we've all been there. Like it's happened. And I appreciate that you was just like, look, I swam with one eye open. That's all I could do. But you kept going. And so thank you for sharing that story because these things really do happen. What leg did you enjoy the most? And what leg did you feel like humbled you?
It's funny because I was the most excited for the swim because, I had been loving my swim workouts. It's actually, it had been a point of discussion in my household. My parents had been so nervous about the swim. My mom, the week of the race, had asked me uh, to take her to the pool and prove that I could swim the distance of the race without stopping.
Oh.
So she could feel confident that I could do it. But I was like, no, 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 like the swim is going to be so fun. But that to me was the most humbling part, just because of all the things that went wrong and the temperature shock. Um, there's some really unflattering pictures of me coming out of the water that I think show exactly how I was feeling in that moment. Um, but I think not that I didn't enjoy the swim, but it showed me exactly what I need to work on. And I'm excited to put that into practice for next time. And the bike portion, I think I had I had a dream the week before the race that I transitioned to the bike portion and I could not reach my pedals to like ride my bike.
Mhm.
So something about the bike was throwing me off a little bit before the race started, but it was actually the portion that I enjoyed the most. I just felt like it was so peaceful, so enjoyable. Um, I think part of it could have been like the nervousness about the bike could have been because in triathlon obviously there's so many rules that don't exist when you're just racing as a runner. You obviously, for example, for the bike there's drafting rules. For the swim there's so many nightmare stories that people talk about, and I think I was a little bit nervous about those rules. Some things you cannot put into practice until you're riding with so many people around you. And I think I was nervous about that. But I think the race did a good job of like spreading people out. So it never felt crowded on the bike and I could just relax and just enjoy riding. So that was a positive surprise. And yeah, the run, I think it was just, I blinked and it was over. Don't even remember much of it.
And then blink, you're here to tell your story about it. Oh, wow. I'm so like you have such a good way of sharing this experience, especially about the rules. I'm just going to ask this because it's something that not everyone does. Did you read the athlete guide?
Yes, I did. I did.
Good job. Good job. Because the race directors do, they put a lot of effort into that. So I'm glad that you read it, which also contributed to you having a great experience. But let's talk about Mama.
Mm.
She made you really go to the pool and swim 750 meters, yards in order to prove that you could do it. And she
Yeah.
watched you.
Yeah, she did.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah,
love that she,
it's an individual sport, but not really in this household. Everyone is involved in it somehow. And I love that. I love that so much.
okay, so mom was like your swim coach to make sure you could survive the swim. How did other individuals of your family contribute to this first race experience for you?
Yeah, so I usually go to the pool with my mom, and I have my own workout. She has her own workout. So that's nice sharing that moment with her. For the whenever I do my bike rides, I usually do them with my dad because he's been riding a bike for many years, and I always told him that it was not fun, that I did not enjoy it. But then when I decided to do triathlon and I bought my first road bike, he had a hybrid. So we would, ride together, but then he was like, oh no, I need to upgrade as well. So now we have matching road bikes and we just ride together, and it's really, really fun. And then for the run, I usually, run with my dad or my mom, or we'll like go out and each do our own sort of like workout. But we just motivate each other in our individual pursuits. And it's just really cool because everyone is just doing their own thing, but at the same time helping each other out and just sharing learnings. I got into running before they did, and now that they're building distance, they started with 5Ks. They just did the Cherry Blossom 10 miler, really popular race here in the DC area. But they just did that, and they trained for it, and they were asking me questions about like fueling and pacing. So we just, yeah, like we all help each other out. But they were really nervous about me transitioning to triathlon, and now they're like all into it. My dad watched so many videos about transition and how to like set everything up properly, and he was giving me tips, and I was like, okay. Like, love that, thank you. But yeah, it's an individual but a family sport at the end of the day. So
So now you've encouraged your family to get involved in sport because of your participation. And so do you see how that domino effect has it just cascades? And I loved it that your family is now so into it. The fact that you listen to your dad who's never done a transition but just watched videos, you actually listen to him on how to set up your transition. It's pretty it's pretty ballsy. I'm here for that. Like he's like coaching you. He's like, I haven't done it, but I am going to be your coach. I love that, Beatrice. That is so like, not everyone is fortunate to have family that will support their ventures. But the fact that this is a family affair, it's really telling and it's a joy to witness and it's truly a gift. So just know that you have a gift and I am excited. Be sure to keep in contact with me so you can tell me when the rest of the family participates so we can have them back on and we could talk about their first time experience as well.
yeah, I'm trying to get them to do a relay with me, possibly. I think that would be really, really cool.
I think so too. I think so too. Make it happen, Captain, all right?
Okay, and I'll let you know.
Okay, girlfriend. Um, what does it mean now that you've had your first triathlon and this podcast is called Try Beginner's Luck? What does beginner's luck mean to you now that you've lived it?
I love this question. Um, I think, I've been a beginner at sport specifically so many times, with tennis, with running, and now triathlon. And I think although you do get, you get learnings throughout your time, with sport, because everything is so different, you still feel that little bit of like nervousness, that little bit of anxiety. But I think now I've been able to put that into a positive place of just being excited to try something for the first time. And just know that, whatever happens, it's not about like PR or like always setting a PR, always about, being the best, or, sport to me is just um, about knowing that I've conquered something that I didn't think was possible before. And with triathlon, like that was it to me. It just seemed so impossible. And just being able to say now, like I've done a sprint, and then, I want to keep building, and uh, still as a beginner in the sport, I just see it with such like a positive, exciting light. And I'm glad that my first experience was so positive. I think I was lucky in that sense. But yeah, I love being a beginner. I love being able to try things and just always take something from it, positive or negative, and just say, okay, I can try next time. I think that's something that like sports in general has like it has taught me. It's just, things won't go perfectly all the time. There will always be things that will go wrong, but you just shake things off and just move on to the next thing. I think triathlon in specific and this first race to me, that's what, being a beginner and the beginner's luck, like that's what it felt to me. It was like, okay, the swim wasn't amazing, the goggle thing was annoying, but then once I was out of the water, I was like, okay, we're transitioning to the next thing. You can restart and just, keep going. And I think that's a really good lesson for life. I tend to, with like my career, my personal life, I hold on to things very strongly um, when I do things wrong. But I think triathlon has taught me, and running too, to just keep trying and keep building and just, shake things off and just, you know, keep going. So to me, I don't know, that's what beginner's luck is. It's just that feeling of like so freeing to just keep going and just know that you can take all the learnings and just try again. Um, yeah.
I love that. I hear this song that Aaliyah, if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again.
Mm.
And I, I love that. Anyway, that's what I heard at the very end. But I love the fact that sport has been able to be this for you and for you to try new things and experience new things. So, do you believe, after doing your first, that beginners have an advantage in this sport? And if so, what would it be for you?
Yeah, I think so. um, I think, because everything is so new, you just you do it and you just figure it out. Um, to me, for example, when I was training for that first marathon I was talking about, um, I attribute part of being able to do that to just actually having no idea what I was doing and just doing it for the first time. I had no idea what a fast pace was. I had no idea what, fueling was, like proper fueling. So I was just, okay, I'm setting out to do this distance today. I would just do it at a pace that I felt comfortable. I would just feel as often as I needed to, and then I would just get that done. Um, and I think as a beginner, that's a very freeing feeling to just be able to do it. Like knowing that, okay, like this is what I'm trying to get to, but not having anything to compare to from like a previous performance or a previous way that I've done this. Obviously, there's learnings that you take from previous attempts, but at the same time, being a beginner, doing something for the first time, it's also about figuring out what works for you. And sometimes that means finding a new way of doing things. Um, and I love that. I think sport is also about, learning about yourself and just, yeah, like having that belief that no matter what, like you'll get through it and you'll do it. So yes, beginners have an advantage because if you just have that belief, you'll just get through it. Um, you don't have anything to compare yourself to, um, and you just do it in the way that you know how to do it. So yeah, it's a very cool feeling to have.
Okay. So, Beatrice, what's next on the horizon for you in terms of racing?
Yeah, I definitely want to um, sign up for a few more races this year. I have plans to do perhaps another sprint. This one went really well. I placed second in my age category, but um,
Way to
I
bury the lead. Come on, girl. You should have told us that in that journal entry. You done buried the whole lead. Girl,
it was just like a plus of the whole thing. I wasn't really aiming for it,
okay.
but it was a really nice surprise. But I definitely want to, as I was saying, take each step at a time. I think I want to do another sprint, and in between, try out open water swimming again, and eventually build up to an Olympic this year. Um, and then maybe some other fun races. I think I'm doing a half marathon later this year, but nothing set in stone yet. So, yeah, excited to just train and yeah, have fun.
Well, welcome to sport. You triathlete, you. Congratulations on stretching yourself, challenging yourself, and trying something new, especially on your birthday. Beatriz Sampaio, thank you so much. But now we're going to go into a little bit of rapid fire. Are you ready?
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Morning workouts or evening?
Morning.
Do you have a favorite song that gets you excited or pumped up, or that got you excited or pumped up for your race?
Oh, I can say maybe I've been listening to a lot of it's a Brazilian artist called Gilberto Gil. I just saw him in concert and I've just been playing his stuff on shuffle. Highly recommend.
Okay. What was your favorite piece of gear?
Ooh, of gear.
Hmm.
Um, I've been really loving my New Balance Rebel running shoes. I just feel so fast in them and they're so comfortable. So love them for every workout.
Okay, okay. The hardest part, training day or race day? Or I should say training. Okay. The hardest part, training or race day?
Training because race day is the reward.
Okay, okay. One word to describe your first triathlon.
Oh, surprising?
Do you now have a favorite post-race meal or just a meal that you love after races?
Oh, my guilty pleasure after racing is French fries and a Diet Coke, unfortunately.
Okay. If every birthday had to include a challenge, a physical challenge, would you be in?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And although I may sort of kind of know the answer to this, I can't not let you answer this question. Did you, by the time that you were out of the water, because we know you couldn't pee in the water, the brain was not ready for that. Were you able to pee on the bike or did you get off and take a proper pee break? Pee break.
No, I just forgot that I had to pee until after the race, so I was
And
really
there you
locked
have
in.
it. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Beatriz Sampaio. This was so exciting. And wow, I've enjoyed every moment of this interview. And I kind of knew it would be feeling for me, especially after the day I had. And usually, when things go not as planned, that's usually when the best things and the best gifts happen. So, thank you so much for being here on this podcast. I'm excited to edit it. I'm excited to air it. Um, and we have this saying on Try Beginner's Luck: whenever you try, you always win. Clearly, We saw this today in our newbie who's officially a triathlete has done for us today. I know you are loving this podcast, and I want to say thank you to everyone who listens. It is truly an honor to um, hear good feedback, as well as when I'm now starting to go to races, seeing people and seeing how they've enjoyed certain episodes. And I just have a simple ask of you. Would you go out and share this with someone that you love and help continuing to get other people to view this, and go and follow us on Instagram. I am looking to hit 1,000 followers by the end of June, and we're really close. So go out, follow us on Instagram. This is currently May, but my goal that I wrote down was for June. So if I hit the goal ahead, great. We thank you. I thank you in advance. We are on every major podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, all of them. YouTube, as well as Substack. With that said, my name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines. And for today, we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.